Quenbao likely has a child studying or working in other countries. Only under these circumstances, this explains why Quenbao would forcefully take the blame. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhu Chengcheng quickly nodded, responded, "Ah, master, this principal has a son studying abroad in the United States. His name is Penfei, but currently there hasn't been a thorough investigation. Because this case started out, we never expected it would involve so many people." Lin Tian lightly nodded with a sweaty palm, carefully observed Quenbao's expression. It's obvious that he is somewhat restless, but it also can't be too conspicuous. I can only keep clenching and unclenching my fists. The feet and knees are tightly pressed together. These actions are enough to prove. When Bao is currently in a state of extreme tension, from the previous calm, waiting in the gloom to die, the current anxiety, unable to contain the tension. This huge shift in psychological emotions, Ling Tianbo narrowed his eyes, lost in thought. They didn't even bother to avoid Quenbao. I organized my thoughts in my mind, using personal experience to piece together the journey. Ashen, first check the internal database. Check the general information about Quenbao. If nothing major goes wrong, the mastermind behind this case. This is basically what Quenbao said. He is the only son of Principal. From large overseas transfers. From these 2 points, Principal is already willing to be intoxicated. Only one's own son could be possible. Of course, as a father too, I can roughly infer the 6 million obtained from selling the house, the reason for being transferred out and then back again. Speaking of which, Lin Tian paused for 2 seconds. He rummaged through his pockets. It seems I want to light a cigarette, but suddenly remembered. This is in the interrogation room. Can only helplessly. The right index finger, darkened yellow from cigarette smoke, sniffed the tobacco scent at the tip of my nose. Continue the knife. Principal, if I'm not mistaken, your son should have been here 3 months ago. Have you been to the casinos in Las Vegas, America? Probably Shuai lost quite a bit of money. He is deeply in debt. Otherwise, I really can't believe it. What could consume so much? Earning 8 million is still not enough. Make you anxious to sell the house. When you sell the house for this 6 million, when I called over, surely someone is scolding your son. He must never gamble again. Result, your son also has a bad temper. I will directly transfer the money back to you, and then turned around to join that drug trafficking organization. Originally hoped to utilize the violence of the drug trafficking organization. Pay off the debts you owe. Unexpected results. Once you choose to join. He fell directly into the abyss. This moment, Wenbao's expression became increasingly grim. Her lips had turned pale and were trembling. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. This is immense inner pressure, and the reasons caused by excessive panic. But still showed a forced smile. Neighbor, you may have misunderstood. I am real. I really don't know. What are you talking about? Moreover, Xiao Peng, he hasn't returned from abroad. How could this happen in the country? Lin Tian did not pay any attention at all. This forced explanation, comfortably leaning against the chair. Be careful not to spill on the table. Xiao Ming, you should have other clues. Can you provide further evidence for this matter? Let Principal stop struggling. Please cooperate with us. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Su Ming immediately recalled. Organize all the previous clues. Fingers lightly tapped the table. First, through blood tests from the deceased's body, it was discovered that there were residues of opioids and drugs inside. The source of the drugs has been found, but now there are no specific clues about the opioids. Due to the careful screening by our Criminal Investigation Technology Department, it was discovered that in the past 2 months, we have very strict regulations regarding opioids. Prescribing and picking up medication all need to be registered online and uploaded, striving to capture every moment. So, those opioid medications, possibilities from various hospitals in the Magic City. Actually, it's already very low. Are you from outside the province? Or pharmaceutical engineering? That remains unknown. But now, there is a preliminary suspect. You can roughly identify those opioids. Compared to our country, opioids in the United States are in a state of abuse. It's not difficult to casually take a few hundred or even 1,000 pieces. But carrying so many medications, the customs inspection is definitely not going to pass. In order to reduce suspicion towards oneself, Peng Fei is highly likely. It is a flight from the United States to Myanmar or Cambodia, return to the country through illegal means. For a drug trafficking organization, smuggling people across this border, it was simply a piece of cake. Since you brought opioids back to the country, it proves that long ago, Peng Fei chose the method of committing the crime. So principled, you would have only known 2 months ago. Dismiss the psychologist. You even specially changed into yourself. This helps in easily locating prey. There is one more especially important point. Speaking of which, Su Ming looked into Wenbiao's trembling eyes. He continued rather harshly. That is when the beast dog was once in conversation. Heard the broadcast of the salt sword dance. As a school principal for many years, I don't think principal would forget the time for practicing the salt sword technique twice a day. Only your son, Peng Fei, returned from the United States, due to a long time spent abroad. Only then will they subconsciously would never consider something like the salt sword technique. After all, there is no so-called salt sword technique in the United States. Am I right, Principal? At this moment, when Beao is a whole person, everyone has fallen into panic and daze, constantly slightly opening the mouth, but couldn't say a word. Life over these many years, even if his own wife is pregnant, the day of impending delivery, nothing had made him so panicked. At this moment, Zhu Chengsheng, who has been searching in the database, suddenly slammed down on the table, so excited that, found it. Peng Fei's major in university is applied psychology. This moment, when confirming Peng Fei's major, after applying psychology, the numerous previous inferences have found their source. Su Ming looked at the pale face across from him. Quen Biao with vacant, dull gray eyes, calm and unruffled. Then it seems the most important point is, it is all ready. It matches the suspect we previously described. After all, this method of crime involves consciousness control. Although it seems very simple, just need to send an email. It can induce the victim to commit suicide. But in reality, the threshold is not low. At least those step-by-step tasks. That's right. Shenji, when you studied abroad in the United States, is Peng Fei in a psychiatric hospital or the counseling room? Participate in activities similar to internships? It's obvious. This is the question Su Ming wants to confirm. In the final email received from the Lies, why is it mentioned inside? The Jurassic in the psychiatric hospital. They all understand how to follow the rules better than he does. Such words. What a frustrating situation. There is still something hidden. Zhu Chengsheng suddenly recognized Su Ming, the deeper meaning of this question. Immediately continued searching. although the division leader of the investigation technology department, but as an old detective, through the suspect's various social media and the official website news, to gain the ability to obtain useful clues. Naturally outstanding, less than 2 minutes. Zhu Chengsheng suddenly slammed the table again, with great seriousness, glanced at Su Ming and Lin Qian, hurriedly said, "Master, Xiao Ming, do you know, I just passed through the browsing area. Peng Fei's overseas social media. Did you find something?" Zhu Chengsheng also did not deliberately act mysterious. Jiang Dai Jai Ben, turning to Su Ming and Lin Qian. Continue the story. 3 months ago, Peng Fei on social media platforms in the United States. A link to a paper published in a high-level academic journal. He is the first author of the paper. The title of this paper is Discussion on Utilizing Drug-Assisted Subconscious Psychology, Control Implementation Techniques. Then, before this, based on the content and information in his personal tweets. Peng Fei also has, at a public spirit rehabilitation center in the United States, experience of long-term volunteering. At the same time, I went through all the accounts that Peng Fei follows. I found the promotional account for that mental health institution. Discovery. Since Peng Fei became a volunteer, the number of patients reported by that nursing home each month, there is a slight decrease. Even though I would be placed in a sanatorium, it indicates that those patients are mentally unstable. It is normal for various unexpected deaths to occur. But if we boldly guess, Peng Fei is very likely in that sanatorium, just experimenting with that method of consciousness control. The ultimate goal is to drive the victim to suicide. That is precisely why the number of patients at that sanatorium, only then will there be consecutive months of decline. As for why that sanatorium didn't discover it, I think this charitable mental health retreat, they probably don't care about the patient's life or death at all, as long as it's not a blatant murder. Then just keep one eye open and the other closed. So after arriving at the final experimental results, only then can we publish in international academic journals. This is how the paper is published. Of course, in the paper, they will definitely conceal the process of this matter. The most critical thing is the most recent tweet. This is a photo of Peng Fei at a Las Vegas casino. In the photo, in front of him lay numerous chips. The stakes must be quite high. After running out of resources, he must have borrowed from a loan shark and is unable to repay. So I joined the drug trafficking organization. Speaking of this, Zhu Chengsheng squinted his eyes, looking at the opposite Quenbert, with guidance, due to past successful experiences. So after Peng Fei smuggled into the country and returned to the Magic City, with principal's cooperation, plan to initially screen the targets. Use your most skilled awareness. Methods of controlling crime. Complete the assessment objectives of that large drug trafficking organization. In that case, to increase the quota for drugs, to earn more profit through this. Is that so? Principal, it can be seen that, through Peng Fei on social media, what is being displayed, adding to the existing clues. Conduct verification, it is now possible to. The various precedents of this full case, the requirements have been met. At the same time, Quenbert's current state and actions. It was then that the best explanation emerged. In order to protect her son as much as possible. So Quenbert chose, you have to take on this case yourself. You can say, now all the clues obtained. It has all pointed to Peng Fei. But faced with Zhu Chengsheng's cold inquiry, Quenbert's attitude, yet it still hasn't changed. Despite her pale complexion, eyes filled with gloom. "Are you still holding your neck stiff?" The hoarse voice answered. "No, but I really don't know. What are you all talking about? Zhao Peng has never returned to the country. This case, all are. I did it all by myself." In this situation, Gwen Bao is still being stubborn. Ling Suming and the others. It's all somewhat helpless and coincidental. But I wasn't too angry, and it's just surprise. After all, Gwen Bao's family, most of them have passed away. Only one son left. Plus my father, the weight of these two characters. So, although timid and cowardly, but at this moment, yet there is an unprecedented determination. Looking at the whole body, Gwen Bao was trembling slightly. Lin Tian let out a long sigh of helplessness, shook his head and sighed. "Principal, there's really no need for that now." Forcefully concealed and covered up. "We all found it. The true killer. And all the clues. It's all pointing to him. You're taking the blame like this. It will not change at all. Final result. Instead, it will only increase the punishment for oneself. Moreover, rather than being here, I am terrified and taking the blame myself. You should not have come to this point, even if it's my own son. Joined a drug trafficking organization out of spite. But as the principal, you should understand the seriousness of the matter. It should be stopped at the first moment. Or we should call the police. Result, you conspired with him to commit murder. I'm going to say something harsh." At this moment, Lin Tian, with utmost seriousness, staring at Gwen Bao, he pointed at the table and continued, "Having been a principal for so many years, in the end they ended up assisting in the crime." Pointed the knife towards the school. "I'm sorry. All teachers and students of Shude Middle School. I feel even more sorry for the deceased Zhang Wan and currently deeply addicted Huang Yan. You could have had better options." It seems that these words stimulated Qing Bao, who was originally silent, suddenly in a frantic emotional state, interrupting Lin Tian's subsequent words, clenching his fists tightly, punched twice the surface of the interrogation chair, struggling with excitement, screamed in regret and pain. Choice. Where else is there a choice? When Zhao Peng acts out of spite. When I joined that drug trafficking organization, all choices are gone. You thought I didn't let Zhao Peng quit. You think I... Didn't you think of any other way? But Director Lin, do you know the members of this drug trafficking organization? What kind of desperate outlaws are they? Do you know these people? They even specially built a dedicated dark web. Is this a way to share your experiences and skills in killing? But you know, those that are still chilling to this day. The murder case at Modu University, case of the red-clad boy and the suicidal police officer, the villa chainsaw dismemberment case, etc. Actually, it's all done by the members of this organization. Choice. Do you know? Do you know? Once you join this organization, except for death, is there really no way to exit? Under the provocation of Lin Tian's words, Gwen Bao's inner thoughts, the tightly strung string suddenly snapped. Emotions at this moment seemed very excited, or to say, this is a manifestation of alternative anger. Angry at his son's rebellious choice. Angry at myself, extending the butcher's knife towards the students of our school. Anger at the intimidation from that massive drug trafficking organization. Anger, even if I work this hard, no one can help Peng Fei take on this case. But compared to Wen Bao's anger, Su Ming and the others sitting across from him, everyone was momentarily stunned instinctively. Lin Tian the leader among them. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. The eyes were full of shock and assault. There was a hidden sense of panic. Correct. It's just panic. Afraid. That was just now. Quenbeao's emotional breakdown and nonsensical ramblings, or the result of hearing things that aren't there. Because so many years have passed. Lin Tian actually didn't hold any expectations in his heart to be able to, in a lifetime, thoughts and expectations on solving the 5.13 magic poison university dismemberment case. Not even sure at all. Is the murderer of the case still alive? Basically, it is driven by inner obsession and unwillingness, always keeping an eye on and unwilling to give up on this case. After all, this was Lin Tian's personal involvement in the analysis during his internship, but did not know what came after, but exhausted all means, the first case where the murderer was never found. For this reason, previously, I heard Zhu Chengsheng mention Su Ming pulled from the files nearly 20 years old. After discovering a brand new clue, Lin Tiankai would lock himself in the office. He lit a cigarette and silently flipped through it again. The case file of the dismemberment incident at Mada University on May 13th. This is what he wants to analyze on his own. What clues were ultimately overlooked? And regret if I could have been more serious and attentive before. Can we capture the murderer and bring them to justice? But now, Quenbao then said, in the vast web created by this large drug trafficking organization, surprisingly, there are experiences and tips shared about the 5.13 dismemberment case. Doesn't it just represent the murderer in the dismemberment case? Currently, it is also lurking within this vast drug trafficking in the organization, and there's a high probability that they are still alive. If we could uncover this drug trafficking organization, so this long-hidden murderer, inevitably, there will be nowhere to escape. This moment, under the influence of various complex emotions. Even though Lin Tian is an experienced veteran detective, it's hard to stay calm. After venting to the opposite side, Quenbao gradually calmed down. The voice trembled slightly. Son, Principal, did you just say that? The members of this drug trafficking organization once committed many murders. They are true fugitives in every sense of the word. Among those members, at least there is the case of the dismemberment murder at Mada University. Red-clothed boy's evil cop suicide case, the murderer of the 3 cases of the Villa chainsaw dismemberment. It's obvious, although my emotions are currently complex and hard to calm down. But Lin Tian still maintained the necessary composure and vigilance. There was no direct focus on the dismemberment case, but rather mixed with other cases to seek the truth. This way, we can avoid Quenbao noticing anything unusual. A special situation may arise to use this as leverage. Quenbao's emotions have calmed down a bit, but did not notice anything unusual in Lin Tian's words. Lift the dim gaze. The sad, hoarse voice reached. Yes, Lin Ju, I truly have no way out. The people in this drug trafficking organization, they are all ruthless executioners who kill without blinking. And once you join in, only death can provide an escape. As for calling the police, HMPH, what good is calling the police? The crimes committed by these people. To this day, your police have not solved the case. Is calling the police useful? Perhaps calling the police won't save us. Instead, it will make us die faster, die more miserably, right? Lin Ju, so do you understand now? It's not that I don't want to call the police. The issue of Xiaopeng's withdrawal. But when I heard about this website from Xiaopeng, and when learning about the backgrounds of other organization members, even without witnessing the details of those cases firsthand, the skills of murder. But I know there is no room for choice anymore. It's obvious. In Quenbeao's heart, the deterrence and pressure brought by the police and the law, there is simply no way. It's just not as good as this. Other members of the large drug trafficking organization. After all, the police must obey the law. But in the eyes of those desperate outlaws, the words law do not exist at all. Don't even mention it. According to Quenbeao, calling the police, it's of no use either, because these drug trafficking organization members, the case committed, it remains unsolved to this day, let alone capturing them and bringing them to justice. Assisting his son to pass the assessment, it became the only solution in his eyes. After receiving a positive response from Quenbeao, Lin Tian fell silent for a few seconds. Suppress the incredibly complex emotions in my heart. Let's temporarily set aside the case of the dismemberment at Madu University. Focus on the present. This case is about to be solved. Principal, I am telling you very seriously. Now stop forcing yourself to hide clues and information. Don't feel that way. I can take on this case myself, because just now our team criminal case files from surrounding provinces and cities. After a thorough investigation, you may discover something you really don't want to accept. That is, as long as it's this drug trafficking organization, members who did not pass the assessment, they will use various means against them. Resolve it in advance. Or say, once the crucial information of the case is exposed, after the possibility of being uncovered by the police, is no longer a companion of this organization's members, but rather a hidden danger that must be addressed. After all, only the dead remain. I won't expose the organization's internal information. So, if you want to save your son, lock him up right away. Tell us. Now is to compete with those outlaws. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Quenbeao was taken aback. Then she revealed a hint of a mischievous smile, shook his head. Linju, don't use such simple interrogation methods. Come to deceive me. During this time, I also researched quite a bit of law and related cases. I am very clear. Xiao Peng's behavior is too atrocious. The deceased was still a minor student, plus the number of drug dealers. The sentence has long reached its maximum limit. Even with a letter of confession or commendation for merit, there is no possibility of probation now. This is the law of our country. So, at this point, Quenbeao looked up. Look at the ceiling. A hint of a sob appeared on her face. A smile that's still hard to bear. Close your eyes and whisper, rather than letting him be caught and wait for death. I would rather believe those things that still make you feel today. Members of the elusive organization, considering the brilliance of this crime, on the verge of success. Maybe it will help him escape. Hide away. After all, there is still a certain degree of this. The possibility of survival, isn't it? As soon as these words were spoken, let Lin Tian be unable to help it. Silence froze. I never expected that. As the principal of Shude Middle School, Gao Zhai's poetic talent is extraordinary. I can't believe you can speak. I would rather carry the only thread I have. I hope to believe in criminals. No one believes it, and are willing to cooperate with the police's work. But upon closer reflection, Lin Tian indeed began to understand a bit more Quenbeao's choice. Because if viewed from the father's perspective, if you come to see, it's somewhat reasonably unconventional. After all, indeed, as Quenbeao said, as mentioned, based on Peng Fei's actions. If caught, it would definitely be. Take a peanut. As a conclusion, placing hope in criminals, although it seems radical and extreme, but this is actually also. It's the only chance. It's just that. With this vast drug trafficking organization style and structure, this is the destined opportunity for the gambler. It will end in failure, and let his own son leave this world earlier. And Zhu Qingsheng. It was a bit too much to handle. Qinbao's attitude, that kind of indifference. The act of giving up everything, it's simply worse than an interrogation. Being tormented by the dog again. Even more infuriating. He slammed the table angrily. Qinbao, we are not only helping your son. I'm helping you even more. Do you understand? You really thought so. The criminal capable of committing such a major crime will care about your son. This assessment, are you all useless failures? I'll be straightforward with you. If you don't want these days. I just saw your son's body. Then hurry up. Tell us where he is hiding. What else? Before Zhu Changsheng could finish speaking, Lin Tian saw. Qinbao kept his head down. It seemed completely indifferent. Again, no need to say more. He is now confirmed to be dead. Maybe we have to wait until we see the body in person. Only then is it possible to regret. Didn't mention it earlier. We need to rely on ourselves. Think carefully. Jinwen Bio, where could it be? Then call the monitoring Tanin. Let's proceed with the verification before they can act. Find Qinbao. Because it's not just this case. Qinbao has made a breakthrough, the key figure of this large drug trafficking organization. We must ensure safety as much as possible. This moment, the entire interrogation room fell silent. Lin Tanking smelled the tobacco scent on his index finger, thinking about where Pengfei might be. Zhu Chengsheng was tapping on his laptop, checking the recent hotel stay records. Su Ming comfortably leaned against the chair, avoiding eye contact. The right index finger lightly taps the back of the left hand. Put yourself in Pengfei's shoes. Engage in thinking. If he were Pengfei, due to the special nature of the case, and Qinbao like this, taking the case directly upon oneself, it's impossible that there was no prior communication. So now, basically, it's about knowing one's father, taken away by the police. After all, it was the first time someone was taken away in front of the media. There was no deliberate attempt to hide anything. There is one more possibility. That was intentional on the part of Qinbao, deliberately accepting media interviews at that time. The goal is to let Pengfei. Do you know if you have been taken away by the police? After all, even with Zhu Chengsheng's warning, those media outlets inevitably appear online, mentioning the incident of Qinbao being taken away, to gain popularity. This means that Pengfei is currently not at school, because if it were at school, the news that Qinbao was taken away directly, it will definitely reach Pengfei's ears immediately. And also, if Pengfei has been at school during this time, then it's very likely that they can remember the timings of the two Salt treasure-building exercises, instead of ringing during the beast dog's call. This indicates Pengfei may have only gone to school by chance 1 or 2 times. Communicate some necessary matters with Qinbao. That's why the voice of Yanbao Jiankao was just heard. The school has generally been ruled out. Qinbao had previously sold the house. Living at school by myself, so it's also unlikely at home. Hotels like this require real name registration. That is undoubtedly even less likely. So, there are very few places to choose from. Enough silver coins must be hidden well. Moreover, based on the previous transaction between Peng Fei and the beast dog, all chose to stay in Shengtian village. He is someone who needs a sense of security. Otherwise, he wouldn't choose a place that he is extremely familiar with. As for why is Peng Fei familiar with Shengshan village? That is because at the beginning, Quen Biao and his wife are busy with work. There's simply no time to take Peng Fei, so he was left with his grandparents. Thinking of this, Su Ming suddenly opened his eyes, suddenly thought of a detail. Peng Fei's grandparents had passed away many years ago, but the old house still remains in Shengshan village. Moreover, it hasn't been demolished yet. The most crucial thing is, Peng Fei has been living in the old house of Shengshan village during this time. That's why trading with the beast dogs is so easy. Otherwise, he must kill to pass the drug trafficking organization's assessment. During this time, I definitely wouldn't dare to appear on the streets too often. The trading location was chosen in the hidden Shengtian village. This problem has been solved. At the same time, because Shengshan village has basically been abandoned, there are very few residents now. It's a great place for hiding. In Shengtian village, Peng Fei, the only place I can go. It's the old house left by his grandparents. But Shengshan village has almost no surveillance cameras, so an accurate verification is still needed. Without the slightest hesitation, Su Ming quickly straightened himself, although looking towards Lin Tian and Zhu Qingsheng. But Yu Guang was focused on Wen Biao's expression. Feigning surprise, he said, "Neighbor, Shenji, I have already determined where Peng Fei is." As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Tian and Zhu Qingsheng suddenly paused their thoughts and actions. While looking at Su Ming, it is also used to light up Wen Biao. You can see, originally silent with their head down, silently lifted their head. Listen closely. Listen carefully to the following words. Su Ming did not deliberately feign mystery. There was no preparation at all. Speak directly in an affirmative tone. Peng Fei, currently hiding at his grandparents' place, in the old house of Shengtian village left behind. As soon as the words fell, Lin Tian and Zhu Qingsheng haven't reacted yet. What to say? One then. Wen Biao's fists suddenly fell weakly onto the interrogation table. Her face was as pale as a corpse. There was palpable fear in his gaze. This moment, there's no need to check the surveillance cameras anymore. Wen Biao's current expression and state, that explains everything. Lin Tian immediately stood up without hesitation. Her gaze was icy and left no room for doubt. Out of bounds. Head to Shengtian village immediately. At the same time, have the surrounding police help seal off the area. At the same time, at the entrance of an old residential community called Happy Home, a person wearing loose sportswear, wearing a headband on the forehead, a spirited young man, carrying the black backpack with 2 badminton rackets inside, expressionless, walked out of the community gate without looking sideways. No one went to see the middle-aged man still at the raiment shop. After walking 2 streets, the young man reluctantly removed his forehead band. The original spirit form also vanished. Only a sickly sense of despair remains. Take out the mobile phone that already has a new SIM card installed. To the number that is deeply etched in my mind, sent a simple text message. Wait another 15 seconds. I have already arrived on the mainland. Should we go to the alley to pick someone up? Just a few seconds have passed. A similarly brief response message was received. The sculptor has already found the doctor. No need to worry anymore. Return to Seju early. After seeing this text message, the young man stretched his back with effort. He casually hailed a low-slung car nearby and got in. Sitting comfortably in the back seat, I said casually, "Going to the Magic City bus station?" But it was this young man. "When leaving this old town?" In this half hour, the beast's dog wife kept hearing the sound of barking dogs. Through the peephole of the security door, after contemplating the tree's eye, make sure no one is watching. The anti-theft door slowly opened. Immediately following that, Ben saw a Shiba Inu was stuck on the railing at its front door, not knowing who had trapped it there, still constantly wagging its tail to please him. Just as the beast dog wife looked around, "I don't understand how there could be a Shiba Inu." The 3-year-old daughter bounced out cheerfully, after seeing that adorable Shiba Inu. Then he immediately clapped his hands in joy and shouted, "Dadi, Dadi, racing a dog, raising this dog, raising the dog, raising this dog," seeing my daughter open her hands. "I want to hug that Shiba Inu." The beast dog wife suddenly froze for a moment, thinking back to 2 months ago. The beast dog said that to him, if he accidentally gets caught by the police in the future. A strange person with unusual behavior appeared at the doorstep. Something strange is happening. Always stay vigilant. Do not trust easily. If you really can't decide, directly call the police. You and your mother have never done anything wrong. The police won't make things difficult. Instead, I will do my utmost to protect you. Thinking of this face, the beast dog wife hurriedly approached the Shiba Inu. The 3-year-old daughter in my arms hugs me tightly, nervously stepping back a few steps. Stay further away from this Shiba Inu. He took out his phone from his pocket and made a call. As the 2 beeping sounds came to an end, "The call has been answered." The beast dog wife bit her lower lip, said softly with a hint of indescribable tension, "Is this 110? At this moment, a number of police cars drove out of the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team. The target is the remote village of Shengshan in the outskirts. We are going to carry out the operation to capture Pengfei." After receiving the assistant's order, the local public security police immediately sealed off all major entrances and exits of St. Tan village, and crouched near the old house, avoiding Pengfei realizing he has no way out. Desperate escape, but the old house was blocked by alleys in front, adding to the uncertainty. Pengfei has already joined this large drug trafficking organization. Will they carry dangerous items such as handguns? So there was no choice but to force the door open, but rather in simple vigilance and blockade, wait for the fully armed SWAT team to handle it. After all, during the interrogation of the beast dog, it has been learned that a member of the drug trafficking organization in Gusu City. I usually carry a handgun with me, and a special kind of poison, so it can't be done selectively. Excessive busyness and blind actions lead to unnecessary sacrifices, putting comrades in crisis. At this moment, the sound of sirens echoed on the highway. Zhu Changsheng showcased his skills as a seasoned driver, stepping hard on the gas pedal, expertly gripping the steering wheel, racing ahead towards the destination. Even while controlling the steering wheel, there's still time to just take a look. Lin Tian, sitting in the passenger seat, frowned in deep thought. With a faint smile, "Master, what are you thinking about?" To be honest, I really didn't expect it. It turns out from this full case, can we still uncover clues related to the May 13th magic poison university dismemberment case? This is really great news. At least your perseverance over the past 20 years has not been in vain. There is still a chance. With my own hands I dealt with that brutal and cunning murderer, brought to justice and taken to court for punishment. It's obvious. as Lin Tian's apprentice. Zhu Chengsheng was naturally aware of the dismemberment case at Madu University. It has been a lingering worry for Lin Tian for 20 years. Now there can be clues, and we can roughly determine that the murderer is still alive. This is undoubtedly the best news. But Lin Tian was not as optimistic as Zhu Chengsheng, still furrowing his brows. Shook his head. It can indeed be considered good news, but it has almost no value for solving the case, let alone. This also involves a massive drug trafficking organization, or now referred to as a group. It would be more suitable. Now, no matter how you want to solve the 5.13 murder case, still digging out the rotten roots of that massive drug trafficking organization, then we must rely on. We need to go to the Peng Fei line, although I haven't passed the assessment yet. But Peng Fei's understanding of that organization, it will undoubtedly far exceed our imagination. So I'm really worried now. What if we get there and it's already too late? This clue has long been taken by that drug trafficking organization. Other members have disconnected. After all, the previously exposed members who did not pass the assessment, all were secretly dealt with. This is what allowed that massive drug trafficking organization. It was only discovered today after being excavated. Speaking of which, Lin Tian frowned. Clearly, they continued with greater concern. I can't do it. It must be confirmed as soon as possible. Is Peng Fei still in that old house? If still in the old house, to determine if there is any danger to life. If only I could determine these things a second earlier. Can resolve these cases, increasing the possibility of a complete breakthrough. This moment, Lin Tian looked at Zhu Chengsheng, who was driving beside him. A sudden decision was made. Immediately find someone to arrange a contact. Currently in Shengshan village, the director of Teichu and the police officer. Let them ensure their own safety. Look for an opportunity to see if we can break in first, or use other methods. Ensure that Peng Fei's current status and safety are confirmed. I can't wait any longer. I'm afraid of encountering other issues. For 20 years. Intern who hasn't graduated from the police academy yet. Step by step to now. Captain of the Criminal Investigation Unit. The number of cases handled and solved by Lin Tian. Nature speaks for itself. Experience and awareness. At the peak of life. Therefore it was immediately judged that. Immediately determine Peng Fei's current status. It is definitely the most important thing. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Zhu Chengsheng did not hesitate at all. Put on the special V-shaped headset immediately. They began to communicate. Lin Tian took a glance. Su Ming sitting in the back seat. Furrowing his brows, Huan Sheng asked, Xiao Ming, you have reviewed the case file once before. Do you still remember? When did it all begin? In our dragon country, anti-drug operations are underway. Discovered the sale of high-purity heroin. 5 years ago. There's no need to deliberately remember. Outstanding memory. Let Su Ming immediately answer Lin Tian's question. Continue the story. In those files, it all started 5 years ago in Lezhu City. Various types of high-purity drugs gradually emerged. Get this answer. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes sharply. Slightly confused, he asked, 5 years ago. So it is said. The founding time of this drug trafficking organization. It was about 5 years ago. Moreover, unsolved cases from other cities. It also appeared during this period. The time interval isn't particularly long, but the 5.13-year-old murder case has been 20 years. Why would it still be recorded there? In the so-called websites. And before Peng Fei appeared, the demonic poison. There has never been a sale of high-purity drugs. Just like there is someone deliberately gave up such a large market. Does this mean that currently the killer of the 5.13-year-old corpse case, no longer in our magic city, or perhaps the murderer of the 5.13-year-old case? He is the founder of this drug trafficking organization. So only then will there be a dark web. Before Lin Tian could finish speaking, Zhu Qingsheng. Suddenly, the editor slammed the brakes, pressing the mini earbud in my ear, asked seriously and solemnly, "What? Are you sure? Can you be sure? Traces of life. But the person isn't here." Hearing this inquiry, Su Ming and Lin Tian's expressions. Everything is becoming increasingly severe. Because of them, I have roughly guessed. Peng Fei is currently. The old house is no longer in Shengtian village. Very likely has already been taken by that drug trafficking organization. Advance control, or perhaps it has been completely resolved. If that's the case, the clues will once again be severed. At that moment, Lin Tian's phone in his pocket rang. Urgent ringtone. After glancing at the number, he picked up the phone with some confusion. Didn't say a word, just simply listening to the phone, the words from the other end. The expression has already changed, became increasingly serious. He said coldly, "Understood. I will go there right now." Finished speaking. Lin Tian hung up the phone, gave a glance at Su Ming and Zhu Chengsheng, said with deep-seated anger, "Just now at our Hue High Brigade's street police station, received a special alert call from abroad. On the phone, the caller specifically requested by name. The street officer informed me, don't waste your efforts going to the old house anymore. Directly go to Faint. Inside the World of Joy, Magu City Holiday Hotel. See it with your own eyes. Confessions from Peng Fei. Provocation. This is from that. Provocation from the drug trafficking organization. You need to know. All these years, Lin Tian has encountered quite a few. Criminal organization operating in a gang-like manner. Have also seen. To cover up the crime, directly choose the outlaws that expose the members. But there has never been any criminal organization. How could they be so arrogant? Dare to call directly. Come to Hue High Criminal Investigation Team, and even named names. Let them stop coming to the old house. Just go and see the so-called Peng Fei's confession. There's no need to think too much. This so-called confession, it's basically about Peng Fei failing the assessment. The organization's ruthless execution must be eliminated, or rather, specifically called to come over. Let the police go and collect Peng Fei's body. The underlying arrogance and provocation contained within. It is already evident. It is even more a contempt for the law. When it was learned that Peng Fei was no longer in the old house, the police cars quickly turned around, heading towards the location of Feng Joy World. At the same time, still let the surrounding public security police take the lead to assist. As for the police officers in the old house of Shenshen village, of course, it wasn't a wasted trip. Just in time to help search the old house. Check if there are other important clues. Thud. Inside the police car, there was an unprecedented silence. Lin Tian closed his eyes, leaning in silence against the seat. You can see the faintly pulsing temples. It is enough to reveal his inner anger. Su Ming sitting in the back seat, furrowed brows, thinking about whether any clues were missed earlier. Zhu Chengsheng looked ahead, but the hands gripping the steering wheel, but clenched tightly. You could even clearly see the raised veins. A few minutes later, Zhu Chengsheng finally couldn't hold it in any longer. He pulled down the steering wheel with force. First in anger. This is definitely a problem. The case of the fall from the police academy. It's now 5 o'clock in the evening. It has only been less than 8 hours. Such a complex case. To be able to do it in such a short time, uncover the true mastermind behind the scenes, and such a large organization, this is already an incredible thing. But why did the other members of this drug trafficking organization? It seems to have taken a step ahead of us. Be aware of our progress, even our every action. It all seemed to be in their guesses, or under surveillance. At this point, Zhu Changsheng paused for 2 seconds. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes. Grip the steering wheel even tighter. This is really strange. I am now seriously doubting. Is there something wrong internally? There is always someone informing them. Otherwise, before Zhu Chengsheng could finish speaking, Lin Tian suddenly opened his eyes, interrupted them without hesitation. Ashan, don't say that. This is not something we should be discussing. Remember, everyone in the public security system is a comrade. We point the sharp blades outward together. It must be eliminated. This massive drug trafficking organization, don't be affected by this low-level provocation and demonstration. Reflect carefully and think it over. Where exactly is it? It might be that drug trafficking organization noticed our progress in solving the case. Could it be during the capture of Wenbao, under their suspicion? Before Su Ming and Zhu Changsheng could respond, Lin Tian just shook his head. He rebutted this speculation himself. That's not right either. With the vigilance and strictness of this large drug trafficking organization, absolutely won't allow Wenbao to handle the organization's matters. Tell the second person. So Wenbao was able to know some information. It's entirely because of Wenbao wanted him to help find the target for mind control. I just leaked this organization's information. Therefore, even if Wenbao is captured and brought back to the police station, it shouldn't cause such a strong backlash. But is the specific problem? Skinny Doc, Su Ming in the back seat, finally finished his contemplation. Sit up a bit straighter. He continued with a serious and affirmative tone. The problem is likely with the wife and daughter of the thin dog. Although I just specifically called to name and confirm. Let's go collect the bodies. It really does look quite arrogant. But in reality, from previous performances, it seems. The criminal style of this drug trafficking organization. They are all very cautious and careful. Therefore, I have serious doubts. In the coming days, the thin dog will be captured and brought to justice. This organization arranged for its members, lurking hidden among his family, not just for killing to silence, to assess the latest developments in the case. Once the members of the organization monitoring in secret discovered, near the neighborhood where the thin dog's family lives, our people have appeared. That likely represents a thin dog. Everything has been explained. They will unhesitatingly abandon Pengfei and handle it by failing the assessment. Completely cut off this lead. So no matter what happens in the end, can we dig this matter out? Pengfei will be dealt with directly. After saying these words, Su Ming was also feeling a sense of helplessness that was hard to express. Originally, it was specially arranged to go protect and monitor the Shu Gu family. I hoped to protect the rabbit. Caught other members of this organization. Result, not only did we fail to protect the rabbit, instead it startled the snake in the grass. This cautious drug trafficking organization directly decided to give up on Pengfei. Cut the clue completely from this point. This is enough to see. The members of this drug trafficking organization are definitely not ordinary criminals. Such terrifying counter-surveillance capabilities. It is enough to show that escaping pursuit was never a coincidence. Some underestimate the members of drug trafficking organizations too much. Some also overestimate other officers. Hearing Su Ming's words, Zhu Chengsheng couldn't help but be taken aback. He immediately called old Chen without hesitation. Moreover, it turned on the speaker. After the call was answered, he immediately asked, "Lao Chen, how's it going? Where are the wife and daughter of the thin dog? Is there anything unusual? Wait a few seconds." On the other end of the phone, Lao Chen's voice, tinged with surprise and suspicion, echoed, So perfect. Lao Su, I was just about to call you. Didn't expect that. Just send it over first." Suddenly, the wife of the thin dog called the police. It is said to be the railing at the door, mysteriously tied to a Shiba Inu, for safety reasons. Dare not approach. Upon hearing this news, Aki and I rushed over immediately. After careful examination, it was found that behind this Shiba Inu's ring, caught between several people, a liquid sphere wrapped in thin rubber, looked extremely fragile in the past. It's very likely to explode. This Shiba Inu will get crushed. These liquid spheres, it has all been taken off by us. Currently, we are bringing the Shu Gu family on the way back to the police station with the Shiba Inu, those round balls, although it hasn't been sent for forensic examination yet. But from my experience, it is likely an infiltration of highly toxic substances. But this method of murder is really not impressive. If only I had been a little more alert. This moment, Lao Chen suddenly thought of something. A loud slap on the thigh echoed through the phone, with a frustrated exclamation. "Wait a moment. I'm going. It can't be me and Akai, members of the drug trafficking organization under surveillance. You found it, right? So, quickly used this Shiba Inu. Just try a little harder. Just left that neighborhood directly. That is not. Let that group of organization members wake up." Zhu Chengsheng helplessly tapped the steering wheel. "Then shake your head. End of topic. All right. Stop slapping your thigh. First, take the beast dog's wife and daughter back to the police station. What is the situation?" "Wait for me and the neighbor." Xiaoming answered correctly. "Let's have a detailed discussion. Let's hang up for now." When Zhu Chengsheng hung up the phone, Su Ming sat comfortably in the back seat. Masa began to speak slowly. "It seems the previous judgment. Basically, I can face about 80% of it now. After we captured the beast dog, a member of the drug trafficking organization in Dusu City. I've been waiting here. Ambush has arrived in our magic city. But unfortunately, although Su Ming didn't specifically say what was regrettable, but in the hearts of Lin Tian and Zhu Chengsheng, everything is very clear. It's a pity. Not only was I unable to do it at such a close distance, capture this member of the criminal organization. Instead, it exposed their own identity. The operation to apprehend Peng Fei is underway. Great variables have emerged. Or rather, it can no longer be called an arrest. It is called collecting the bodies. Perhaps that is more accurate. After all, no one expected. The beast dog is lurking near the family. Drug trafficking organization member. I can't believe they have such terrifying counter-surveillance capabilities. But Su Ming could be 100% sure. If he had been in plain clothes then, monitoring and protecting the beast dog family. Absolutely able to make this special. Members of the organization from Gusu. Rooted out completely. This is not blind arrogance, but rather one becomes a doctor through long illness. Lin Tian also let out a secret sigh. Thoughts of smoking to relieve sorrow keep surfacing in my mind. But he managed to suppress them all. Like the stabilizing pillar of the sea, it slowly signaled. Although there are minor mistakes here, the progress of the case is somewhat unsatisfactory. But we have also caught another lead. If Peng Fei cannot take this path, then let's go directly after them. A member of the organization from such a city. I have extreme doubts. Currently, Peng Fei's freedom of movement is restricted. For the criminal suspect who may have already killed him, it is highly likely that this person is a member of the organization from Gusu City. This massive drug trafficking organization is truly me. Encountered in history. Before Lin Tan could finish speaking, the phone in his pocket. The urgent ringing sound echoed again. After the previous phone call, now Lin Tan has become extremely perceptive. Immediately picked up the phone, and just like Zhu Chengsheng from earlier, choose to turn on the speaker. Immediately after that, a slightly panicked and hurried voice. The sound was already resonating inside the police car. Neighbor, you are going to capture the suspect named Peng Fei, now standing at the Moda Holiday Hotel, the balcony outside the penthouse room. It seems like it's about to jumping off a building. This moment, there's no need for Lin Tian to say anything. Zhu Chengsheng had already floored the accelerator. Demonstrate throughout the entire Huey High, besides Sumain, the criminal investigation team. The best racing techniques? Madu Holiday Hotel. This is one of the few high-end hotels in Huey High District. Due to being inside the Fantawild happy world, so the business has always been good. Every day there are quite a few tourists. Choose to stay overnight at this hotel, a total of 19 stories. The penthouse is the most expensive VIP suite, even having a balcony. Unpractical selling points like swimming pools. At this moment, there are many faint parks. Joyful world visitors and staff. Zheng Ang looked up at the rooftop of the Madu Holiday Hotel, because in their sight, a person wearing a white coat, wearing glasses on the face. A young man around 25 years old. At this moment, I am standing at the edge of the balcony pool. Downward representation. Hard, cold, dark gray water. Without a doubt. This is Peng Fei, who smuggled himself back to the country. Uncover the mastermind behind the Blue Bold game murder case. A circle of yellow caution tape. Seal off the area around him for dozens of meters. Absolutely no one is allowed to approach, to avoid being struck and accidentally injured. At the same time, there are still dozens of public security officers. Even the chief of the police station. Everyone is below shouting with a loudspeaker. Don't let Peng Fei do anything foolish. Life is just beginning in your 20s. Never take the dead end, because the 19th floor is just too high. The impact force of free fall. It will reach unimaginable heights. I wasn't discovered at all. Using blue gold for consciousness control crimes. I was interrupted by the sculptor. Quite cold to the bone. Hello, hello. Don't get excited. If the call was accidentally dropped by you, I will press the bomb directly. Do you understand the remote control? Upon hearing this, Peng Fei instinctively turned his head to look. The position of the defensive midfielder kept flickering, still thinking about the beeping remote-controlled bomb. Her eyes were filled with terror and fear. Quickly continued pleading with the phone. I have already done it as you said. Copied that video to the laptop. It was also placed in the most prominent spot in the room. Why can't you let me go yet? Mananingane. I am among all the people. You are the one I admire the most. Sculptor Big Brother. Let me go. Let me go. I promise. I promise I absolutely won't. Will not disclose any information about the organization. Give me a chance. Let me have a good talk with Boss K. He said before, I will definitely be the genius criminal of the future. He will definitely be there. Once again, before Mo Deng could finish speaking, Peng Fei interrupted. Just being rudely interrupted. The sculptor's voice was quite impatient. Once again it rings out. Doctor, do you really know? Now your life or death. But it's in my hands. Do you understand? Not in case hands. 20 years have passed. You made me ignite once again. Interest in creating special works. Do you think there's still a chance? Moreover, oh, you don't have to be afraid anymore. I just gave you several shots of pain medication. With heroin. Wait a moment before jumping down. It definitely won't hurt. Remember, remember, later it will be like what you wrote in your own post. It seems like something. Guiding two female students. In the freest falling position. Jump directly from the high building. Wait for you. You have to use this position too. This is how one truly repents, do you understand? Only this way. You are my greatest masterpiece, do you understand? Uh, that's right. You must not resist at all. Don't just give up halfway. Do not wait for my command. Just jump down. Is your old man still alive? There may still be opportunities to come out. I think you probably don't want that either. So painful for you. Everyone is willing to take the blame for the old man. The first day out. Just like the video I just sent you. Cut into pieces after being narrated by the master. Speaking of which, the sculptor paused for 2 seconds, using a rather relaxed tone of comfort and prayer. Wait patiently. Please don't hang up the phone. We've taken so many medications. It definitely won't hurt. And don't rush at all. Our most important audience hasn't arrived yet. Such a great work. If you show it too early, I can do it. I'm really unhappy. A pure madman. This is the most mysterious K. Give this code name. Adjectives for members of a sculptor's organization. It is enough to see. This so-called sculptor, how uncontrollable and insane it truly is. At this moment, under Zhu Changsheng's full-speed driving. The time originally spent was cut in half. The sound of sirens has already reached Unveiled adventure. In a cabin of the giant Ferris wheel known as the Eye of the Demon supervisor, a rather lean person, wearing the drawing board, a middle-aged man dressed very ordinarily and inconspicuously. When I heard the sound of the siren, suddenly became alert, squinting towards the Madhu Holiday Hotel, after discovering the number of police cars entering. Excitement and exhilaration immediately appeared on his face, but it was hard to see clearly because the distance was too far. This middle-aged man, he even picked up the phone that was still on the call. The contact note is simply 2 words. Suddenly switched to the background and opened the camera. Then pull the screen center. Zoom the phone several dozen times. After seeing Lin Tan and the others' figures, suddenly, excitedly wide-eyed, hurriedly said, "Here it comes. Doctor, the most important audience members for us. The exhibition has already arrived. Are you ready? Remember, remember, the posture must be exactly as you mentioned in your post. Carefree and looking up. Jump down, do you understand? Don't worry. It won't hurt at all. I have also tried those good things." After inserting it in, I feel completely relaxed. Even inspiration has increased. It definitely won't hurt you. Just relax and let your heart beat. Sculptor, sculptor, the body trembles, filled with sobbing anguish. Once again, the voice pleaded to be heard. And give me another chance. Really, I will not say a single word. I really won't say a word to them. We are clearly all brothers in the organization. Why do it this way? Didn't Boss K say that before? He has a very positive outlook on me. Penji's series of pleas for mercy. The sculptor didn't really listen attentively, not even the slightest bit of concern, because his attention was completely focused on. Several police cars just arrived. At this moment, the police car faced no obstacles on its way, arriving at the entrance of the Magic City Holiday Hotel. There was not the slightest hesitation. Even the car had just come to a stop. Lin Tian immediately opened the car door and got out, looking towards the nearby police station with the loudspeaker. The director asked, "How is the situation now? Is the emotional state of the suspect stable?" The police station chief showed no hesitation. Quickly replied, "Many people have already been arranged." Squatting on either side of the room and the rooftop, the fire department has also come to assist. The suspect's emotions seem to be okay for now. There was no tentative attempt to jump down. Always keep in touch with family or relatives through phone calls. And the suspect's other hand, still clinging tightly to the edge. I personally feel his original intention was probably not to jump. Perhaps it's just a matter of using this method to obtain a promise of lenient treatment, or something else. Lin Tian looked up at the top floor of the hotel, taking the loudspeaker from the hands of the police station chief, explained with a serious expression, "It's about handling things with tolerance. It's definitely not about calling family, but was threatened by someone using a certain method. I'm afraid that so-called phone call. It's all about getting rid of that person. It was given to him to control the direction." Staring at Peng Fei on the balcony, Lin Tian thought for a few seconds. "I tested the loudspeaker and it worked fine." He immediately shouted, "Peng Fei, I am Lin Tian from the Huey High Criminal Investigation Team. No matter what you did, do not give up hope at this time. Remember, there is still room for maneuver. Our police will do our best to help you. Calm down. What you need most right now is to stay calm." After shouting these words, Lin Tian saw that even shouting like this, Peng Fei didn't put down his phone or shift your focus elsewhere, still constantly talking to the phone. Emotions visibly intensified and began to crumble, and even started shaking their head continuously. This moment, the experienced Lin Tian immediately assessed. On the other end of the phone is monitoring, judging Lin Tian's judgment. The drug trafficking organization member who coerced Peng Fei. It seems like the final ultimatum has been issued. There was not the slightest hesitation. He quickly looked at the police station chief beside him. "Immediately issue the order. Prepare the brothers hiding nearby. It may be necessary to use strong measures to control the suspect. Otherwise, it could jump down at any moment. It's obvious, since Peng Fei has not yet turned into a cold corpse. Then, naturally, we must do everything possible to save his life. After all, the living Peng Fei is the most valuable." At this moment on the Ferris wheel, the sculptor heard Lin Tian shout through his phone. A faint bloodstain and a mocking cold smile appeared on his face. He immediately commanded without hesitation, "All right, doctor, it seems like it's about time. Those who should see this work. Now everyone has arrived here. Come on, get into position. I don't need to repeat what position to take. It must be that kind of falling face first from a building. It looks like a rather relaxed posture for suicide. That is the best work. Got it. All right, let's begin. This is enough to make one's scalp tingle." The sculptor speaks. But there was no change in emotion. With a relaxed expression, it felt as simple as crushing an ant. Don't do that. Give me another chance." Give me another chance, please. I promise. I guarantee it will definitely be, compared to before. Now, Peng Fei's plea for mercy. It has completely made the sculptor impatient. A cold voice suddenly threatened, "Doctor, now, this is no longer just your confession. This is my second work in the past 20 years. So don't make me press the remote control for the bomb behind you. In that case, you will be in excruciating pain. And your old man. It will also become my planned third work. And the most crucial part is, speaking of which," the sculptor's voice suddenly quickened, roared like a howling beast, "it will ruin the brilliance of my work this time. 5 seconds. I only give you the last 5 seconds. Prepare yourself. Perfect fall. Transform into blue and gold to welcome a new life. Otherwise, I will help you complete your insufficiently dignified confession." This statement, Link Pengfei immediately broke down and cried out for mercy. Remote-controlled bomb hanging from the waist. The beeping sound is still ringing, but the sculptor paid no attention at all, counting down like the Grim Reaper. When I reached the third to last tone, in the cabin of the Ferris wheel, the sculptor, who always kept an eye on the hotel situation, suddenly realized, on the rooftop of the hotel where Peng Fei is standing, it unexpectedly approached closer and closer. Firefighters and police officers with their seatbelts fastened. The sculptor, who always had a relaxed expression. Instantly, their expression changed drastically, and they exploded with anger. Damn it! Damn it all! The next second, the sculptor immediately picked up the remote control placed beside him. Press it directly without hesitation. A loud explosion suddenly erupted, but the impact. Yet it made me stand on the sidelines. Peng Fei of Suibian Yan suddenly twisted and struggled, falling rapidly from a high building. 3 seconds later, the sound of objects falling from the building. It has already echoed all around, mixed with, "Many are standing at the caution line," the astonished gasps and screams of the onlookers. The scene instantly became a bit chaotic. The sculptor in the Ferris wheel cabin. He expressionlessly took out his phone again. Aim at the spot where Peng Fei fell from the building, zooming the camera out continuously. When seeing that horrific sight, the bloody scene afterwards, the sculptor suddenly stood up, slammed the phone hard onto the ground. With hands on hips, they paced back and forth anxiously, muttered in indescribable anger, "Damn it! Damn it! My originally perfect work!" It was unexpectedly destroyed. The sudden sound of an explosion, and Peng Fei, who was knocked down and fell from the building. The scene suddenly fell into chaos. Of course, unreally, only those who are surrounding the caution tape. The spectators of the Dragon Kingdom are skilled at enjoying the spectacle. The detective within the caution tape, police officers and firefighters. Only at the moment of the explosion there is a bit of activity. Subsequently, it proceeded in an orderly manner. Action has begun. The chief of the nearby police station quickly called for the standby paramedics. "The doctor is here. Doctor, come and take a look." But this is just putting on a show. From the 19th floor to the location. Falling from the building without any hindrance. Let's not talk about it for now. And we survive. I hope it won't be direct. Just make it into a pancake. But we can't just let the current situation, a slightly restless crowd, and the media reporters who are on their way, drop the topic. So, it's time to perform the rescue. Still have to force myself to do it. At this moment, several doctors, carrying various instruments forward, but even without falling from the building, lower back and abdomen area, the explosive wounds of contention. Absolutely impossible. let Peng Fei have any hope of survival. Lin Tian was standing still, watching it continuously unfold, converging into a small box-like shape of fresh blood. Although silent, not a word is spoken. But hold tightly, gently clenched fist, but enough to feel is deeply hidden, overwhelming anger. In the eyes of ordinary people and journalists, this fall from the building, probably just simple guilt-induced suicide, it's not worth paying too much attention to. But in Lin Tian's view, this is not a suicide out of fear of punishment. Continuing the call, shaking their head repeatedly, with one hand tightly gripping the edge of the balcony. And finally it was an explosion. Downstairs under the shockwave. All explained. This is an unprecedented provocation. There has never been such a criminal organization. Dare to be arrogant within the borders of Longuo. Do this series of things. Let's not talk about drug trafficking for now. Calling the criminal investigation team. Naming names directly. Call the police to collect the body. In the end, it was actually used. Explosives that are strictly prohibited. This massive drug trafficking organization, arrogance level, it has far exceeded Lin Tian's imagination. Additionally, 20 years ago, the true culprit behind the 5.13 case, also lurking within this drug trafficking organization, let Lin Tian desire the idea of completely digging out the rotten roots, becoming increasingly intense and rooted in the heart. He let out a heavy breath, looked to the side. Wang Hu and Zhu Chengsheng waved a hand to signal. Xiao Ming, Asen, left. First, go to the room where Peng Fei fell from the building. Let's see if there are any clues to discover. We are waiting for the doctor to leave with the death report. We'll take over from here. Hurry up. Smooth sailing all the way. 3 people with a Universal Hotel key card. We've arrived. The luxury suite booked by Peng Fei. This suite. It wasn't ordered by someone else. But is Peng Fei. An hour ago. There was no concealment at all. Using my own ID card. The reserved luxury suite. Arriving at the door of the luxury suite. Zhu Chengsheng uses the universal room card. The sticker was applied. He pushed the door open and entered. According to the hotel staff, when we arrived at the hotel, it was just Peng Fei alone. There was no one else following along, and has been holding the phone up all along. Now, can only rely on hope. Peng Fei, what clues can you leave us? I think if everyone is taken by that organization, when pushed to the brink, no matter how timid and cowardly, it should have all been born. Everyone's thoughts about going into the water. Lin Tian, standing beside, approaching together, took a glance with no struggle in sight. A luxury suite with signs of habitation, already guessed. To Peng Fei, as soon as I arrived at the suite, just being coerced, standing at the edge of the balcony. He shook his head helplessly. With guidance one can achieve. Even if there are thoughts, it doesn't mean there will be an opportunity to do it. Because of that small bomb, very likely, it has long been hidden within Peng Fei. Once there is some movement, members of the organization responsible for resolving this matter, most likely they will do it without hesitation. Press the remote button, due to being coerced with someone's life. So, Ming has a survival instinct that rivals anyone else's. Peng Fei stood at the edge of the balcony, not daring to move inward even half a step, or say, this organization, there has actually been a way for a long time, without causing such a big impact. Under the premise of excitement, Peng Fei silently dealt with it. But to provoke our police, so they chose such a brazen method. Compared to Lin Tian and Zhu Chengsheng, destined thoughts, It is clearly a bit different. Reflecting on the past, the scene of Peng Fei falling from the building, the encounter of the beast dog wife and the woman, and the previous style and methods of this organization, unconsciously frowned. He spoke softly, as if lost in thought. Neber, Chindi, I have a bold hypothesis. Could it have been earlier in Madu? Except for Penfei, there are also two other members of the drug trafficking organization present. Because if there is only one, the words of the criminal, although inferred from a series of processes, discover that Lao Chan and Aki have become one. Learn about our actions. Act to the control to solve Peng Fei. It is indeed sufficient to complete on the timeline. But the difference in style is just too great. According to old Chen, when planning to deal with the beast dog's wife and daughter, it was to use a Shiba Inu as bait. Even I didn't show up myself. You can say, this method of committing the crime is quite easy to crack, but it is indeed very concealed. But just now regarding Peng Fei's matter, the member of the organization responsible for solving it, it was unexpectedly arrogant. Not only did they specifically call, even used bombs brazenly. This is related to the entire drug trafficking organization earlier. The styles of cautious forms differ greatly. I think, if this drug trafficking organization in the past, they all speak so arrogantly. It's hard to hide it for so long. It was only discovered today. This moment, Lin Tian has understood what Su Ming meant, nodding slightly with sweaty palms. Xiao Ming, do you mean? The person monitoring the beast dog, wife, and woman. It should have been a special trip from Gusu City to Madu. Assist in assessing the members of Peng Fei's drug trafficking organization. And this time, the one who resolved Peng Fei. It's highly likely that it just stayed put. Or members of the organization living in Modu. If we continue to delve deeper and push boldly, the members of the organization responsible for executing Peng Fei, it is likely related to the murderer of the 5.13-year-old corpse case. It is the same person. Of course, this is pure pushing. Before Lin Tian could finish speaking, Zhu Chengcheng was the first to enter the suite. Suddenly shouted excitedly, "Master, Xiao Ming, come down quickly. Peng Fei seems to have left us something." As soon as the words were spoken, Su Ming and Lin Tian are currently analyzing. Without hesitation, he walked closer. In the living room of the apartment, a laptop is tilted on the coffee table, like a video that keeps playing in an endless loop. At this moment, the video has just started a new round of playback. Just as the three of them felt a bit puzzled, on the screen of the notebook on the tea table, suddenly a pair of blood-stained hands appeared, and in his hands he held a bloody severed head with long hair. The suddenly appearing writer and the head. Lin was present with Su Ming and the others. All raised their eyebrows in surprise. Although a criminal police officer, it's not enough to scare me with this scene. Yet there was still an inexplicable strangeness in my heart, especially the video playing on the laptop. The picture quality in the past was extremely poor, that kind of vintage filter that carries a sense of nostalgia. The atmosphere was even more eerie without a definite setting. But the next second, when Lin Tian seriously looked at the long-haired person's bare face, suddenly clenched his fists tightly. Gritting his teeth, he suppressed his inner anger and said, "The deceased in this video. It is the victim of the May 13th Mortar University dismemberment case. Wu Jingqing, even though so many years have passed, although this pampered victim's head, the video is covered in bloodstains. It's somewhat difficult to distinguish, but just a glance is enough. I can judge with utmost clarity. The head in the video. It's from 20 years ago. the victim of the 5.13 dismemberment case. This statement, although it sounds a bit creepy, but Su Ming and Zhu Changsheng had no doubts about its authenticity, because the dismemberment case at Mud University, no one knows what has happened in these 20 years. Lin Tian tossed and turned. How many times have you watched it? How many times has the case been reopened for investigation? Even the head of the deceased found at that time, the killer's appearance was completely unrecognizable. But in that time before beauty filters, completely able to transform through various portraits and life photos to restore and determine the deceased's appearance while alive. So, when I see this old video now, Lin Tiankai is so certain. At this moment, the three of them silently agreed not to speak again, silently watching the video on the notebook, the bloody hand on the screen. It is not just about simply holding the victim's head, but it has begun, consciously turning their head, just like presenting one's own work. Dozens of seconds later, as the display of the skull concludes, the video also changed accordingly, become one. The studio is completely wrapped in black film. There was only a simple workbench placed above, and a cutting board with several knives on the countertop. Immediately following that, a person wearing a black raincoat, wearing yellow rubber gloves, a thick face mask covered his face. The man with tightly shut eyes, pointing at a deer, walked slowly to the camera, holding a boiled female arm in hand. Place it on the workbench. Due to the bones being removed in advance, the entire upper arm seemed a bit greedy. Then the man picked up a meat cleaver from the cutting board. After gently waving a few times, it seems there's a hint of dissatisfaction, threw it aside casually, picked up another one, but it was just a couple of swings, threw it aside in dissatisfaction, then picked up another one. After simply waving it a couple of times, the man seemed to suddenly understand. What kind? Put down the knife. Quickly took off the yellow rubber gloves. He picked up the meat cleaver again. Just a simple wave. He nodded in satisfaction. There was not the slightest hesitation. I awkwardly started cutting with my right hand. With each cut, I paused to examine for a few seconds. It seems a comparison is underway. In this segment, although there were no loud noises, but the simple sound of cutting meat, all of this can weigh heavily on one's mind. If this video is uploaded online, I estimate that not many people can withstand the impact brought by the visuals. After all, in the video, it's not pigs, cows, or sheep that are being cut, but rather person. Just like that, the murderer in the video moves slowly, after cutting through the entire upper arm, looking at the chunks of meat that vary greatly in size and shape, trembling with excitement and agitation. Surprisingly, compared to the golden ratio of 0.618, it makes people anxious and nostalgic. This is truly perfect, a truly perfect work. As the voice faded away, this video has also come to an end. A new cycle has begun again. A pair of shoes held in hands, covered in dirt. After watching it once, Zhu Changsheng couldn't help but raise his eyebrow. Unexpectedly, Huan Sheng said, "This video, it should be the murderer of the 5.13-year-old case. The footage has been recorded. In that case, Peng Fei, knowing he was certain to die, it really left us with the evidence and clues of that drug trafficking organization. This is from their organization's dark web, the downloaded video of the attack. After all, being able to capture and document like this, except for the real perpetrator of the case, no one else could possibly achieve this." Standing next to him was Su Ming, then keenly saw The USB drive is plugged into the laptop. Suddenly, he spoke as if deep in thought. Next to this laptop, plugging in a USB drive. If nothing unexpected happens, this video, it should be in this USB drive. If Peng Fei were aware, once you fail the assessment, they will be dealt with by other members of the organization. In this USB drive, there is a high probability that there are case files of other individuals or video used to pull them underwater. But if there are no other people's criminal records, just this one, I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. I think this is very likely another provocation from that drug dealer organization, because 20 years ago, we Hue High Police team, the case of the decade-old corpse was never solved. Meanwhile, the murderer of that case, now I am one of the members of a drug trafficking organization. Lin Tian did not answer for the moment, but took out the phone. After taking a few photos on site, approached with a cold expression. Please temporarily turn off the video. First, open the corresponding folder. After realizing there were no other videos, looked at the file path again. Suddenly fell silent. Sai Bangzi clearly moved a few times. It is enough to see Lin Tian's anger. Said coldly, Xiaoming really said it. That's right. Where is this? The criminal information that Peng Fei intends to report. It's exactly that. Provocative video sent by the drug trafficking organization. Such an arrogant criminal organization. In this lifetime, Lin Tian, I consider this an eye-opener. Forcefully exhale a breath of stale air. After calming the inner anger a bit, Lin Tian stood up. Let's go check out some other places first. Do you have any clues? No need to remind me at all. The three of them were in sync. We arrived at the location of the previous explosion on the balcony. A hole has been blown here, a fist-sized small pit. It's not particularly big, but it is behind one person's waist. But it is enough to be fatal, not to mention was knocked down the stairs by the impact. There are still some remnants of explosives, and quite substantial. The lingering smell of gunpowder. Su Ming gently picked up a piece of the explosion debris, gently crushed the leftover explosives, gently stitched with her fingers, said with a serious tone, Neighbor, Chenji, I think, regarding the danger level of this drug trafficking organization, the evaluation needs to be more rigorous. Because of the purity of this explosive, it is quite astonishing, compared to the homemade bombs of ordinary criminals, not knowing how powerful it has become. Very likely, in this drug trafficking organization, there was a member who was extremely skilled at making explosives. By the way, just as Peng Fei was blown out of the building, I observed something. At that time, Peng Fei was very emotional. All actions seem a bit restless. But he didn't think he would be blown off the floor immediately. There is no emotion of waiting for death. So, the bomb on Peng Fei's back. It is highly likely a micro-remote controlled bomb. As for the specific remote control distance, because this micro bomb has already been shattered and scattered, it's difficult to determine specifically through the built-in chip. But I think, should we consider a trial lockdown of Fanged Happy World to conduct a thorough and strict screening? Lockdown at Fanged Happy World. Su Ming's proposal. Suddenly, Lin Tian and Zhu Chengsheng were taken aback, but they all began to seriously consider it at the same time. Because Fanged Happy World is one of the most crowded areas in the entire Huihai region, although today is not a holiday. But there are still quite a few tourists. If we conduct a strict lockdown and thorough investigation, the panic and impact caused, it may be somewhat incalculable. The most critical thing is Due to the recent jumping incident at Pengfei, many media outlets have come to report, and many people are afraid of panic and riots. Everyone is rushing to leave Joy World. I have no desire to continue playing. In such a situation, to block the screening of Unveiled Adventure World, the difficulty is truly unprecedented. A few seconds later, Lin Tian shook his head helplessly. He sighed and made the decision. Not possible. Absolutely cannot block Fanked Happy World, because there are really too many tourists. There are also quite a few media outlets. If we carry out the blockade screening like this, if found true organization members, that is a happy ending for everyone. We can give a blockade, find a suitable reason. If we don't find it, or perhaps the hidden member of that organization, currently we are not at Unveiled Happy World at all. The impact of public opinion caused, and the loss of credibility. This could really get tricky. Difficult to handle. This is not to say I, Lin Tian, am not willing to gamble my life, the white shirt that I wore. But the probability of getting caught is not high. We detectives can't handle cases like this. Speaking of which, Lin Tian paused for 2 seconds, then, seemingly deep in thought, continued. However, the lockdown screening is ineffective, but let the Unveiled Happy World provide the surveillance footage from various locations today and the list of visitors entering the park. There shouldn't be any problems. This matter, I'll arrange it shortly. I hope we can find relevant clues. Take all the photos. Prepare to go down and take a look at Pengfei's body. If there are no available clues, just bring it back to the team. Let the forensic pathologist conduct the autopsy. No matter what. The incident of the fall at Shude Middle School, it's over. But a bigger case has also been dug out accordingly, as the rescue personnel take out the electrocardiogram display as a straight line. This explains that. The mastermind behind the Shude Middle School fall case, using consciousness control, Pengfei, the murderer, on a legal level, has completely left this world, the way of death, and Zhang Wan, whom he had killed. It's not that different. They all fell to their deaths. This must be said. It truly deserves to be called repentance. Due to Pengfei's presence, there are no remaining clues.